This is Sheila Megers with Understanding My Community of Hutchinson, Kansas and USD 308. Hutchinson was established in 1871. Our ancestry is comprised of 28% German, 11% Irish, 8.5% English, and 3% French. USD 308 policies and curriculum are affected by changing regulations and the needs of the students. We have a variety of religious beliefs here, with the two largest groups being Catholic at 19% and United Methodist at 17%. Our residents have many traditional values, but are much more liberal than the surrounding rural districts. Change is not easily accepted by the community or the city government. Some of our traditional community events include the Kansas State Fair, Hutch Fest, and the 4th of July and Christmas parades. Hutchinson is categorized as 99% urban and 1% rural. Our population of Hutchinson is just over 40,000. We are pretty equally split between male and female residents, and we have only seen a 2.9% growth since the year 2000. We have an ethnicity makeup of 82% white, 10% Hispanic, and 4% African American. 92% of our residents have English as their primary language, and 6% are primarily Spanish speaking. 88% of our residents have a high school diploma or higher, almost 20% have a bachelor's degree or higher, and nearly 7% have a master's or some kind of a graduate degree. The median age of our residents is 38 years old. There are 1,854.5 people living here per square mile. Some of the primary occupations include manufacturing, retail trade, construction, and education. USD 308 has an enrollment of 5,150 students, and that is pretty equally split between male and female. Hutchinson has a variety of communication channels. We have a number of different TV stations that are either here in Hutchinson or in Wichita. Cox 22 is a cable channel that is put together by our high school broadcasting class and contains information and activities going on in the school district. We also have a number of radio stations that are local or out of Wichita that we do some advertising with. The Hutchinson News is our local newspaper, and they do a great job of covering a lot of our activities and events and current issues facing the district, and for the most part they're pretty complimentary. We also have a USD 308 website and email, as well as an automated phone messaging system that we send out reminders for school events like conferences or days out of school or enrollment and those kind of things. In recent years, social media has played a bigger and bigger part. We have Facebook pages and use Twitter to communicate as well. In the community, there's not a huge foreign language impact here. I would say our biggest sources of local information are the newspaper, the radio, and more each year, social media. Just a few of our community groups are listed. I could have listed probably 100, but here are some. Rotary Club, Young Professionals of Reno County, Hospice of Reno County, American Legion, Kiwanis, and AMBUCS. A few of our school community groups would include the Davis Foundation. They offer some really good scholarships to some of our graduating seniors, as well as they award cash money to a teacher of the year at different levels every year when school starts. We also have Communities That Care, Boys and Girls Club, and Youth Friends. Our school policy is determined by the school board and the superintendent. The community groups here have minimal influence on the school policy for the most part. And I am not aware of any problem organizations in our community. Our city leadership includes the mayor, a vice mayor, and 5 council members. Our school leadership would include the school board, the superintendent, assistant superintendent, a large number of building principals, assistant principals, and athletic directors. I also included USD 313, their school board and superintendent. This is one of the more rural districts that surrounds us. However, there are quite a few of our students in the city that also go to their district. So they also play a part in our community leadership and in decisions. We also offer in town a class called Leadership Reno County, which encourages new leadership, younger leadership. However, I would say that our true community leadership is very closely related to social status and position more than political position or title. Our leaders influence the city government, the churches, the schools, the community organizations, and community events. Some of the characteristics of our leaders include being well respected. They're heavily involved in community organizations and businesses. They're successful in their fields. They're also acquainted with the diverse populations. They have long-term ties to the community, and they're highly visible. I mentioned earlier, change in the community is slow, but seems to be much more likely if our community leaders are in support of something. Things that affect our economic conditions. Our median wage here is $39,000 a year. The median home value is $91,000. And the property tax on a $91,000 house is just over $1,500. I think that's a little higher than a lot of our surrounding districts. Our sales tax in Hutchinson is 8.04%. Our unemployment is 6.4%, and 13.4% of our residents live in poverty. Some of the tourist attractions that positively impact our local economy would include the Kansas State Fair. That's a 10-day event that literally brings thousands of tourists from all over Kansas. We also have the Kansas Cosmosphere and Space Center, the Underground Salt Mine and Salt Museum, and the NJCAA basketball tournament. Mervis Railcar is a new business coming to town. They are planning to build a $35 million facility here, which will create 150 new jobs. We are currently USD 308, but we were originally called Reno County District Number 1 and had around 10,000 students in our district. Then in 1966, our school board at the time decided that we should only include the current boundaries of the city of Hutchinson at the time. So as our city has expanded, we have not enjoyed any of the benefits of all the new construction and new residential neighborhoods that have sprung up. Those all now attend surrounding districts, more rural districts, and those students now attend 4 separate districts around here. Our entire district spans only 14 square miles, which makes us the 3rd smallest in the state of Kansas. 70% of our students qualify for free and reduced meals. And I mentioned this restructuring of our district. It was maybe not a wise choice back then because we really did miss out on a lot of growth. We're very landlocked, and a lot of the newer neighborhoods are more affluent, and so as that has grown and new growth has come, we just have really missed out. We also have open boundaries here, and so our students in Hutchinson can attend the neighboring districts. If we make decisions that parents are not happy with, they can and do attend other districts, which is a financial loss to us. On the other end of it, we are a bigger district and we offer a lot more opportunities as far as athletics and academic programs and vocational. And so we really try and capitalize on that, especially at the high school level. And we draw a lot of students from surrounding districts in for those programs, which positively impacts us as well. The political structure. Hutchinson, as a city, our operating expense is $81 million a year. We get just under $2 million in state aid each year. The Kansas budget, the K-12 education, 25% of the Kansas budget is spent on that, and almost 17% goes to higher education. Locally, as a district, our state aid this past year was over $38 million. We participated in the Schools for Fair Funding lawsuit. I know that our Director of Financial Operations went and testified. Our superintendent was involved, and we were advocating for our students and trying to get adequate funding for them, which I think addresses Standard 6, which is acting to influence the state's changes to school funding in order to adequately provide for student learning. Many of our students are high poverty levels and just require more funding to educate adequately. I think that politics and education are closely intertwined and cannot be separated. As far as social tensions, there is really one big one. I have lived here for 40 years, and we have a North End versus South End mentality in this town. Our North End is very affluent, and our South End is characterized by very low income levels. Discrimination here is primarily based on income levels. Our elementary schools, because they're neighborhood schools, are grouped by income, basically. I mean, very similar income levels. And so we have a very affluent one, and we have some very low income ones as well. The discrimination is evident more in the adults than the students. About 12 years ago, we had a North End middle school and we had a South End middle school, and there was a huge difference between them, and racial tensions and were pretty high at the time. And so in an effort to equalize things and help students get along a little better, the board voted to redivide that, and we now have a 7th grade attendance center and an 8th grade attendance center, and there's no north-south as far as the middle schools. And that was a huge community issue at the time. And in the end, when it was all said and done, the parents had a bigger problem with it. The students adjusted just fine. It's a thing of the past, and our students' racial tensions have gone down quite a bit. I think the causes for this discrimination are fear and misunderstanding on the parents' part. Religious and racial tensions here are minimal. Gang concerns are also minimal at this point in time. Our bigger concerns in the school seem to be drug related. When I first started in this district, we had training on gang symbols and signs and what to watch for, but I no longer believe that's a part of it. Some extra sources of information include questionnaires to parents, pupils, and staff members, minutes of school board and council meetings, word of mouth. A Chamber of Commerce provides great resources, city directory, telephone book, school and city website, and social media. Power here comes from the affluent, particularly those with family money. Those that have long-term ties to the community and have been here more than one generation seem to carry a great deal of power. Another source of power is successful business owners. And a third source is the high school football program. Since 2004, they've won 7 state championships and gone to the playoffs almost every other year. This has made them a powerhouse in the community and in the school especially. They are overly influential at times, and they are heavily supported by those with power and money. The power structure here is aligned more with affluent leaders than with the political parties or with titles. And I think part of that is because they donate financially to schools, churches, and other community organizations. The funds are needed by the groups, which gives the donors some leverage. One of their channels of influence is through the Davis Foundation, also the Alumni Association, and the Athletic Booster Club. For the most part, their influence is primarily positive, and they're well-intentioned. Occasionally there's an issue, but for the most part it's all a positive thing. This, I think, applies to Standard 5, that by having carefully planned programs and policies in place, administrators can make ethical decisions that benefit all students and not just a select few. We do have some ethnic diversity here in Hutchinson. Some community and school events that support that are Cinco de Mayo, Mennonite Relief Sale, the Yoder Days. At the high school, we have something called Diversity Days every year, in which our clubs and organizations do different things to represent different ethnic backgrounds. We also have other clubs throughout the school year that support diverse backgrounds. I think as a community, that's one of our strengths. We have an appreciation for multiculturalism. Ways that we measure public opinion. One would be the school board meetings, because the members discuss community concerns and ideas. We also measure public opinion through parent, staff, and student surveys. The USD 308 Community Budget Committee, because it's comprised of a variety of stakeholders, it allows them to express opinions and concerns there. I also think that visible administrators measure public opinion. They can visit with a variety of parents at school and community events in an informal way. Another source is through site councils in each building. This allows parents to communicate ideas and opinions with building administrators. As a district, we send out email surveys to parents, staff, and students. These surveys are done consistently each year, and they are looked at by various committees and administrators. I do think they provide some valuable input. However, we have to keep in mind they represent a small sampling at times because not everyone participates. I think that this represents Standard 4, which is gathering and analyzing data that can be used to improve student learning and to meet the needs of a diverse population. I think that the more we know about our community and the better we understand it, we can make better decisions and more informed decisions as administrators to better serve the needs of all of our students. Thank you.